What if you could confidently grow your wealth, invest in real estate, and leave a powerful legacy without second guessing yourself? In this episode, I sit down with Lauri Kibby, Managing Director of Selene Brighthouse, to discuss how women can step into financial empowerment, smart investing, and long-term wealth creation. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, the show where we tackle the taboo topics of money and manifestation. I'm your host, Jenny Schultz, former 9-to-5 grinder who ditched the status quo and went all in on creating a life I love. Yes, I use manifestation. Yes, I took action. And yes, I created a 7-figure net worth before turning 40. Every week, I'll bring you inspiring stories with money mavens and manifestation masters. From learning how to make more, save more, and grow your wealth to unlocking the power of manifesting your dream life. I am so excited to play in this space with you. Let's jump into creating a life you love. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Lauri.
Well, good morning, Jen. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. I would love for you to share with the listeners just who you are and what your story is.
Absolutely. So I'm Lauri Kibby, currently Managing Director of Selene Brighthouse, which is a $10 million fund really committed to providing an avenue for women to invest in alternative assets. Specifically, our fund is about strip centers. And concurrent with that, we also run Empower Hours, which about educating women about real estate so that they really understand the asset class, the different components of those asset classes within real estate, and how to be a great LP or a limited partner in a fund. Something I think women are deprived of, the education. So we're trying to offer that and offer a vehicle for them to expand their portfolios.
That's lovely. That's empowering. And looking over your bio here, your career spans multiple industries. You've got the real estate, you've got fashion, you've got biomed. So what is the driving force behind your diverse career path?
Well, many of those are done as an investor myself. I have an inquiring mind. What can I say? For me, creating businesses or helping businesses be created is an artistic endeavor, or my artistic endeavor. So though I spent really most of my career in real estate, my working career in real estate, I would say that my other aspects of my career include participating in the creation of other businesses. I just find it fascinating. I like to learn about them. There are basic principles that apply across all of them, but it's a great exposure to different markets, different people, different creative thinking, different strategies. And I enjoy that. But for me, it's fun. A lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of heartache sometimes.
You loved real estate, but how do you approach your overall wealth building? You're a female, you like empowering females, and what does that look like for you?
Wow. That's a complicated question.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason for being in multiple businesses is I understand the risk. So I've always been an entrepreneur. So I've always owned my own companies. I've never worked for someone else. So that has an inherent risk of the ups and downs. There's not a paycheck every week potentially. So I have always been very cognizant of the fact that I need to look at my money in different tranches or different buckets. So there's what I live on, there's what I save to invest, and then how do I invest? So understanding how to diversify my portfolio so that I can weather through ups and downs. I have my standard portfolio, which is inclusive of stocks and bonds, and sits with Schwab. And now I have a wealth advisor because I don't have the time to actually manage it, though I did manage it myself for many years. But then I invest in businesses that I believe are good ideas on the hopes that there's a unicorn in there or at least a successful exit with some of them. So it's kind of spreading it across. And I always have emergency funds for opportunities that may come along, or if there's a change in my own business. So I kind of take a very holistic approach to it, looking across all of it. I'm very fortunate. Early in my career, I got an MBA in finance. So I had some training and education that gave me at least an understanding of how to approach managing my own finances. And I realize now how many women are not given that advantage. So I'm very, very committed to providing that to women because it does take some level of understanding of the various asset classes that are out there to invest in. What does it mean to be a limited partner in something? What does it mean to have a business versus being an investor? defining your values. Hopefully you do grow your wealth aligned with your values. I've made some major mistakes where I didn't align with my values, and I really paid the price for that.
Can you share an example of just one of those situations for you?
Sure. So several years ago, maybe 4, actually, I invested quite a bit of money, also brought my daughter in, and it was 7 figures. It was a large investment. And last year we discovered that the gentleman that I invested with, it was a Ponzi scheme. And so it's up for an FBI investigation currently. So that was lost. And really, I dissected that. I had to sit back. Once I got over the shame of it and realized there was nothing to be ashamed about, it happens all the time. That's one thing I've discovered. It goes on all the time, financial scams, that I really broke my own rules. When I met the person, his values about his family and how he talked about his family didn't align with mine. Should have been number one indicator, but his returns, which were so great that even though down deep I knew they were unrealistic, my greed took over, if you might say, or FOMO possibly. And then I didn't really do a lot of investigation because friends were invested in it as well. So I broke all my rules of investing. And then, like I said at the beginning, sometimes you manifest the wrong things.
Yeah.
But out of that, I learned a lot. Like, I'm now even a better investor than I was before, and it's led me to the path of what I'm doing now, which is very fulfilling and very valuable, hopefully, to others.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Like you said, you've worked through the shame part because a lot of people, when we do make an investment mistake like that, we want to duck and hide, right? Because there is shame around it, but to own it and to learn the lesson from it and to be able to move forward, that to me sounds really empowering the way that it has played out for you.
Well, you know what I've discovered? I share it openly because I have discovered that it's very inspiring. Many of the women that I speak to have had a similar, possibly not as big, but the size doesn't matter. It's the impact that it has to your own particular portfolio or life.
Yep.
So whether the dollar number is big or small, it doesn't mean the impact is as big or as small. It's big no matter what. And it really is freeing to be able to say, no, I made this mistake and I've used it now to move forward in a meaningful way. And it's really unfortunate that we feel that we are going to be judged for being less than or not good at it, when in fact that's not it at all. Sometimes it's unfortunate things happen. Sometimes people are really great salespeople and we don't do our due diligence or we don't think it through, or sometimes we do and it's still, investing is risky. So you have to assess your risk. You have to assess that risk compared to what you want to invest. You want to spread that risk for yourself. And sometimes there's just bad investments. This one, I probably could have done a better job in my due diligence and I probably wouldn't have lost it. All I can do is rebuild that and move forward. So
definitely. And you being in the space you are trying to empower women in this financial space, what are some of the biggest financial challenges you think women face today?
really trusting themselves that they are able to take on that responsibility. I talk to a lot of women. Many women say, I'm sorry, I need to speak with my husband, which is not a big issue, but abdicate's probably a little bit of a strong word, but they don't feel they have the confidence to do it on their own, even though it is their money and even though they earned it. I think that's one of the challenges. I think they do want to take control and they just don't feel they have the information or the education. So I think that's an important piece of it. And I also think that women now more and more need to think about their legacies in a more meaningful way. There's a big wealth transfer about to happen. I think $30+ trillion is about to transfer to women over the next, I think, 7 to 8 years. Largest wealth transfer in the history of our country. They'll control, I think I read in a McKinsey report recently, something like 50+% of the wealth in this country through the jobs that they have and the money that they control. So being financially educated, feeling confident in being able to make decisions or at least have the conversations to be partners with whoever is advising you in making those decisions, and thinking long-term about what legacies you want to leave with what you have is very important. I also think separating what's an investor from a job. So a lot of women that I speak to are doing fix and flips. It's really a job.
Right.
It looks like investing. It's really a job because you're working in it. Investing, you want your money to work for you. So being able to make those distinctions as to what you want out of your life with your money, I think is important too. And learning those distinctions, obviously.
Yeah. So let's go down the real estate rabbit hole for a bit because I love it. And yes, there was a period of time where my hubby and I, we were doing everything, holding our full-time jobs way back at the beginning and doing the renovations way into the night, right? And then getting up and going to work in the morning. So yes, it was a second job for us. And then slowly it evolved. So what do you think for women are some really good investment real estate strategies that, and like this can just be your own personal opinion here. I'd love to hear it.
If you want to be in real estate and you don't want it to be a signature for you. So some women say, well, I love the creative aspect of fixing and flipping. So that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That is a way to be in real estate, but to recognize that it's not really being in real estate, it's being in a job. And the job happens to be fixing and flipping real estate. If you want to be in real estate as an investment, as part of an overall portfolio strategy, and I'm not an investment advisor, so this is not advice, it's just, then I think that there are avenues where you can invest where somebody else is making the investment decisions, managing the properties and those kinds of things. And those are funds, obviously, that are available. And then, of course, through your investment advisor, there are REITs where you can buy shares in them. That's another way to be in real estate. So there are different avenues for being there. Real estate funds, there's REITs. And then, of course, you can also own your own portfolio and work in that if you want. And I suppose you could, if you get large enough, have a portfolio that somebody else manages, but you're still managing that portfolio through someone else. And there's a fuzzy line maybe there because your money is working for you if you have enough. I mean, if you own 50 homes, that's a real estate portfolio. You may still be working in it, but there's maybe some overlap there. But it takes a lot to get 50 homes in a portfolio.
Oh my gosh. And especially in the market now.
Even those, I mean, if you've some of the larger firms like Blackstone, they buy these big portfolios where somebody's amassed a portfolio of several hundred homes, and then they actually buy them and run them as a fund.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I know that what we do at Selene Brighthouse is we consolidate strip centers because we think that's a really good asset class. It has a lot of opportunity right now and our thought is that ultimately gets moved to a fund, just like housing, just like self-storage. There's these cycles in real estate. So if you want to be in real estate, I think first understanding the different asset classes within real estate is important, and then how they operate and what the cycles are.
Definitely. Let's go into the asset class that you're currently looking at. So strip centers. So those are like storefronts that are all connected together with the doors out the front.
Yes. So they're called strip centers because they're usually done in a strip.
Okay.
Usually multiple tenants. It could be 10, 11, 12 or so smaller spaces. They're generally community serving, and they're pretty internet safe in as much as that there are businesses that generally you cannot buy online. So it's a karate store for your kids. It's your nail salon, your hair salon, your dry cleaners, those kinds of things. And right now they're just priced really well because of the interest situation and the previous inflation and a variety of other things that have driven down the sales price of these. Our whole fund is a value add. We look for centers that we can add some value. They're generally triple net leases, so they're a very moderately risked portfolio of asset. And our whole goal is to consolidate them, as I said, and exit to a larger fund where we can produce what we consider outsized returns for that class. And many of them are currently owned by families. Often they're being inherited. The children don't want to keep them. And our focus is in markets that we know. So Dallas, I have partners. So Dallas, Metroplex, and Southern California, which is where I'm located.
Neat. That's kind of fun. I haven't chatted with somebody before that has that specific investment model, let alone the strategy that you're buying them with the exit strategy of bundling them together, which I think is neat because I hear about real estate getting bought up by bigger corporations now. Even like single family homes and stuff and apartment buildings and stuff are getting bought up and then put into the REITs or whatever. And it's just fascinating. I know the power of real estate and how much it has created a safe, secure net worth for my family, and that the big guys are able to step in and buying up the individual houses. But now it makes total sense. They're buying them up as a big package deal, right? So they have a
Right.
massive amount and somebody's managing that.
Right. They can't go out and buy a single family home, managing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. So they need to buy portfolios that have much larger value for them. And so our thought is that consolidating these into a portfolio makes them a good purchase target potentially. When you put together a fund, or you put together an investment, you want to look at what is your exit strategy. It may change. There may be another different opportunity, but for us in visualizing and putting this together, our exit strategy is that to a larger bank. That's our thought, because it has become an asset class that people are paying attention to. If you really look around, strip centers are everywhere, and they hold all your needs. We use them a lot. They're like an under-recognized real estate. We know big malls. We know where the big shopping centers are, or where the Trader Joe's or the Target is, but you see them all the time and you go to them, but you don't really think of them. So we're focused there.
Yeah, so true. What is one bold question that you think more women should be asking themselves about their financial future?
I love the word bold.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest, boldest question is, what legacy am I leaving? I don't think we as women think about our legacies. We think about leaving our family in good condition, our children well taken care of, but we don't think about the legacies like in a big way. I don't think we need to make gigantic impacts in the world, but having a big legacy that makes an impact within our world, whatever that might be, is a really important question. Because I think if you work backward from what it is that you want to leave behind, you start making decisions possibly differently. Start looking at your power to create that rather than the power around you to create it, the other people creating it for you. And I may be from a different generation, so there was a lot of, you left it to someone else. I think taking control and taking the reins and saying, no, I'm the one leading this pack of horses, and I want to know, I'm setting the direction of where we're going, I think is a really, like, we should be asking ourselves that more regularly. Especially, I think for me, I mean, my children are all grown. So I'm no longer like thinking about how to create a safe environment for them. Now I'm thinking bigger. And I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that.
I love the question. I've never thought about it. In the moment, that's what comes to mind.
I love that. That's a really expansive answer. And I love expansive questions and answers. So keeping down this track, I got another one for you. Because
Oh,
so
no.
if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of financial or business advice, what would it be?
Not to have sold any of the homes I've owned, to be very honest. That, and possibly to have taken a job early on in my career, just to have had a little bit of mentoring from somebody smarter and more experienced than I. I've always been an entrepreneur. I sometimes am a little, jealous is the wrong word, but desirous of, when I'm with women who have had some corporate background, kind of the mentoring and training. And so, for example, on my team, there's one of my partners comes from a big corporate background. She was a chief development officer. And I am just always in awe of what she brings to the table in the way she looks at things and thinks. It's very different from how I do it, which I think is fabulous in our partnership. So I think I probably should have taken a job for a year out of school. But I think a bigger is that one of what would have built more wealth for me would have been to hold on to all my homes.
I needed to hear that, because I occasionally I'm like, oh, we could just sell off one of the rental properties and do da da da. And every time I have that thought, I also start talking myself out of it, because I'm like, I got to think of the bigger picture. So you just confirming what my heart and my gut are telling me, I needed to hear that. So thank you.
My pleasure. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't have sold some to buy another one, but I shouldn't have just had one home at a time, because I've had some, and I didn't need to sell them to move on. But that's that thinking. I wish I had had that thoughtfulness then.
Yeah. Well, that is valid, because I feel like there's such lessons in that, because you don't necessarily ever see the path moving forward. You can hold your goals and they're pulling you forward, but looking back, that's where I'm like, I feel like we have a clearer picture when we can look back on our journey and be like, that would have moved the needle that much faster if I would have done
Yeah.
that, or in your case, not done that. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that.
Yeah. No, I think also on a personal level, I think trusting myself earlier I would have done things like what I'm doing now, possibly a little earlier in my career. You get where you get, and you have to trust your own path, that it gives you what you need to be where you are.
Do you know what? The word trust, whether we're having a conversation about manifestation or we're having a conversation about money, the word trust keeps coming up over and over and over. So, how do you think you can cultivate that trust within yourself at an earlier age? Because obviously, you kind of are going through things and you're learning the lessons and you're building that trust. But how do you think we can facilitate that faster?
For me, this is a really valuable question, because trusting yourself is also side by side with absolutely taking full responsibility. And when I say that, often people say, well, I don't want to be blamed for, they see it as a blame game. And it's not that. Being responsible says, I'm clear, I was here. This is what happened. I manifested that. And I did it for a reason. Maybe the reason was, for example, taking my own loss was to learn something, to be able to add to the wealth of knowledge that I have to grow or to be bigger or to accomplish whatever it is I'm accomplishing. So I think if you know that you're willing to look and be responsible, you can trust yourself, because you're willing to go deep to understand your motivation and why you did things and why you made the decisions, and how, if it didn't work for you, how you would change them. If it did work for you, how you would use that to contribute to the future. That, I think, is what trust is in yourself, which allows you to then trust the environment, because you know how you are within it. If we're looking out there for it to be responsible, I don't think you can get to that place.
Yeah, I have goosebumps from that answer, because I feel like that is so true. That is so true. When we can take the power of taking the responsibility for our actions, we are taking that ownership, and therefore we are embodying that more. And yes, as a result, we are learning to trust ourselves, because we are one.
And you're just more powerful in the world when you are willing to stand responsibly in where you are. It's amazing how the world reacts to you too. You know what I mean? Like it just gives you so much more power in the world, in my opinion. So
yeah,
my own experience. Not always easy. Not always easy. Certainly not in this environment. It's not always easy.
Yeah, it's not always easy. But I appreciate you coming on here, being authentic, being vulnerable, and I would love for you to share where the listeners can reach out and catch more of your wisdom.
Thank you. Well, they can certainly email me, Lauri, which is Lauri, at selenebrighthouse.com. They can visit our www.selenebrighthouse.com, and we have educational materials on our website if anybody's interested in learning more about real estate. So that would be two ways to be in touch with us. And through our website, you can also sign up for any of our Empower Hours, which are an hour where we take on a topic and just educate anybody who participates.
Okay, perfect. I will link all those in the show notes so people can click through and find you.
Wonderful.
And thank you so, so much for joining me on the show today, Lauri.
Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful week.
Do you want to take your manifestation game to the next level? Join me for the month of March over on YouTube, where we are building momentum with the Manifestation March. We're talking bite-sized daily inspiration, mindset shifts, money magic, and action steps to create the abundance that you deserve. Go check it out on YouTube at Income Stream Ignition, and let's get making some momentum in the month of March towards manifesting more money. Thank you for listening to the Manifestation and Money podcast. If you're looking for ways to manifest more money and more abundance in your life, I invite you to join me in the Manifest More Moolah program. It would be you, me, and a small group of other equally cool humans meeting weekly in a Zoom room, exploring different ways to manifest more money and more abundance into your life. For more details, visit www.manifestationandmoney.com. Thank you for listening to the Manifestation of Money podcast. I truly, truly appreciate all of you for listening. Cheers to creating a life you love and the income streams to support it.